A 3-cylinder engine, and that in an adventure bike for quite an affordable price, that's quite the rarity. And with that, welcome back to the Freemals MC, and we're today going to have a look at the Triumph Tiger 955i. And what a beautiful bike. It has quite the nice styling cues with the tiger claw in the design here and with the nice dual front headlight. And this bike comes with a 955cc transverse 3-cylinder engine. And that is a liquid-cooled engine. The bike is, even though it's quite an old bike already, it is fuel injected, which I think is really, really nice. And it's quite the big adventure bike. The bike weighs 215 kilos dry, has a 24-liter fuel tank, and holds 4 liters of oil and 2 liters of cooling liquid. So all in all, you are basically looking at 245 kilos wet. And for this being a proper adventure bike, you have 230 millimeters of suspension travel in the front and in the rear, and that with a road-focused 19-inch front wheel and a 17-inch wheel in the back, with 110 tire in the front and 150 millimeter tire in the rear. All in all, it seems like a more road-focused package, but all in all has basically the dual sport dress-up. And what a beautiful bike. And this bike has been very kindly provided by Georgie. Welcome to the channel. Nice to meet you. And I wanted to ask you, for how much have you actually purchased this bike on the used market?
So this bike is a bit less than 3,000 euro, and I bought it in pretty much nice condition. Nothing broken still in it, just oil change and something. Should be maintenance this winter with new oil in the forks and new brake pads and spark plugs and so. Pretty new bike for me, only a year old.
That's actually really, really nice. And what was the intended use that you buy the bike for?
This is the type of bikes that I love to ride. I tried different types of bikes, but pretty much half of the time I ride the bikes, it was Honda Varadero. That is pretty much that type of bike, adventure style bike. It's comfortable. It's you can put luggage in it and travel to up.
Okay, that sounds all in all pretty nice. So let's have a look at how this bike does on the road. First of all, let's have a look at the seating position. The bike has a seat height of between 83 to 85 centimeters. This is how a man of my size sits on it. For reference, I am 6'5" or 1.95 m. And so far, it's like Georgie already said, it's close to something like the Varadero. It's very comfortable. It's a really nice, relaxed position. So let's get this bike on the road and see what it's all about. So we are now on the Triumph Tiger 955i. And Georgie is following me on my Interceptor. So let's go. We're here now on a little curvy road somewhere in Bulgaria. And wow, the engine really is the star of the show here. That's nice. That's a nice feel. One thing that's very unique about the engine is that the maximum amount of Newton meters that is applied is very low in the ref range at 4,500 RPM, while the maximum horsepower is all the way up to 9,500 RPM. And let's do a very unique riding experience in general. And also with the bike here now lean over to the side, feels very good. Honestly, I have to say it feels like a big supermoto, because even though it has 230 millimeters of suspension travel, the suspension feels very stiff. And wow. And also the way that the frame feels more naked bike-ish, in the sense of your feet are very high up. It feels like a smaller bike than it actually is. And I think this could be because it shares its engine platform with the 955 Daytona. And you really notice it's a quite the odd engine platform for an adventure bike, because this engine feels sporty in a very unique way. And with the 19-inch front wheel, they could have put a 17 or 18-inch on it as well, because this feels very road focused. I don't know how much confidence I would have taking this thing off road, but on the road it feels really nice. And I feel like, especially for Europe, you have countries like Italy, here the whole Balkan and so on, and there the roads are like good to medium maintained, and you do a lot of like curvy road riding, and for that it's perfect. I feel like this is, when looking at older adventure bikes, if your goal is to mainly tour around Europe, yeah, this is a pretty decent bike. We need to look out a bit with all the leaves on the road, and also Bulgarian roads are sometimes not the best. Also, that the bike has heated grips is a nice touch, and I really like all the analog clocks here, because you have a clock for everything. You have a clock for the RPMs, you have a clock for the speed, you have one for the temperature, and you have one for the fuel. So you're looking at 4 analog clocks, and you can never have enough of them. They always look so good. You have a bit of wind turbulence on the helmet, but I think that could be to Georgie's extra windscreen, but I need to ask him about that. Maybe it actually improves. I think as a commuter bike that you also use for fun, this is pretty perfect, because even though the suspension is quite stiff, it's very comfortable. You can ride this bike forever. Even if your legs are up quite high, I have a very nice position on my back and then my arms, and also that in its little bit of dual sport dress up, it had hand guards in it. Is nice because you don't get any wind on your hands, and I have summer gloves right now here in winter with like it being relatively cold, and my hands are nice and warm, also with the bike having heated grips. Ooh, here in those faster turns, this bike is really fun actually. Just from side to side, and you can feel its weight. You can feel its weight most definitely, and it's quite top heavy, but especially for the long swept turns, it does for a quite fun and nice experience, I have to say. And even though the suspension is quite stiff, with the amount of suspension travel, you can handle bad roads relatively fine. I'm just really doubtful about this bike's off-road performance, but we will figure that out in a minute. But so far it's very fun here on the road. Yeah, this is nice. Honestly, I really love the character of the engine in this bike, because I mean, this is supposed to be like a more commuter focused machine, but you get like such a nice package here with the 3-cylinder. The 3-cylinder is just such a nice platform for this. So now when riding the bike, I really found out the star of the show here really is the engine. It has a very unique feel, and also it sounds really nice when riding the bike. But this bike doesn't just offer a unique engine option, but I also feel like for the price of around €2,750, you get a really nice look of the bike, because for an adventure bike this is a really pretty machine. As a lot of people desire bikes like the Honda Africa Twin 750, the old one with the dual headlight, or the Cagiva Elephant with the Ducati engine and the dual headlight, and this bike is more modern, has fuel injection, but still the really nice dual headlight. And I also really like the way that the tank here is shaped, with this kind of old school bubble-ish shape, and then it expanding basically down here. That's really nice, and also with the nice modern touches with this tiger claw design here. That's so 2000s-ish. I really love this. So all in all, I would say for people who are into the old school look of adventure bikes that now costs a lot of money, you should really have a look at this, as this can give you quite a lot of what you want for a lot less of the money. So we will now test how the bike does on a gravel road and everything. We're exploring this area here. We need to be a bit careful that we don't bother the people from the caravan community over there. But yeah. Honestly, it feels really stiff, and you really notice the high center of gravity. This feels roughly as well suspended as my Interceptor. But one thing that I do have to say, the shifting is relatively accessible while standing. That is good, but the handlebars are very low. If you get into a situation where you really need to brake off-road while standing, you could go over the handlebars. But one thing that I do have to give the bike credit for, at slow speed you can really precisely control it. But I think for off-road adventure bike duties you would want to take another bike. So yeah, it's definitely more of a road-focused machine. So I'm now done with the test ride of this beautiful Triumph Tiger 955i, and the sun came out, it has gotten really warm and I need to wear the shades because the sun is so low. But all in all, a nice package. I really like the performance of the bike, but I gotta say, if you want to get this bike, you need to know what you're getting, because this bike is dressed up as something that it's not. It looks like a very off-road capable enduro. It looks like, with the dual front headlight, it looks like the old nice Enduros with the bash plate and everything, and with the 230 millimeters of suspension travel. But I gotta say, the suspension feels for a bike like this relatively stiff. You still feel like you're riding on clouds when you drive on the road, but it's relatively precise and sharp. And off-road, it doesn't really deliver. So if you're looking for a machine that can also do the occasional off-road ride, this is not the bike for you. But if you want to mainly tour through Europe, do some twisty roads, and basically tour mainly on-road and commute with a very comfortable body position with the beautiful old school adventure bike design, then definitely go for this bike, because then it's truly great. And I have to say, the 3-cylinder engine platform really is the star here, as it's pretty hard to find a bike with an engine like that, and also with the very unique feel, with the torque down low and the horsepower up high. And older bikes just have in general a very special feel to them. I'm such a fan of the visuals. Also, this bike came in really nice colors. This is now the jet black version, but you also have a Lucifer orange and a British Racing green. The British Racing green is quite creative interpretation of British Racing green. It's more like in-your-face lemon green. But I love when bikes come in nice colors, similarly to old muscle cars. It's just something that's really, really nice. And I think if you look for a bike like this and are looking into other bikes like the Suzuki 650 or the Aprilia Cap Norte, those are all bikes in very different budgets, and I think this is kind of the cheapest option. It's still very unique. I think you can definitely go for this machine, and I also think this bike makes for a very interesting project bike, because I now said that the bike is not really off-road capable. I think it would be really fun to make this bike off-road capable and give it a proper suspension that is soft enough, different handlebars, and turn it into like a rally bike. Also because it has the old school looks. It's so nice, and honestly, I feel like the little like stripes on the side from the Tiger name, they're a bit cheeky, but like they're typical 2000s. I love them. It's a nice bike. It definitely gets the road approval from me. Off-road, not so much, but if you're mainly doing that, you'll be fine. Anyway, if you like this video, definitely like and comment and subscribe, and check out the Patreon. And if you have a motorcycle that you would like me to review, definitely write me an email.